Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Positivity Podcast on Anfield Index. My name is Matt McElroy, and I will be your moderator for today's discussion. I'm joined, as always, by Lubo Murkoff and Paul Jenkins. How you guys doing?
Yep, doing really good, Matt. It's a nice sunny evening here in Northern Ireland. I've just had a barbecue, and I am looking forward to our discussion this evening.
Yeah, your evening is off to a good start. And Lubo,
Definitely.
How you doing? Are you coping with your Twitter ban?
It is fine. It is fine. I'm now, the various stages. I'm past the anger and the denial, and I think I have entered the acceptance stage, and we'll see what happens. I've submitted about 3 appeals already, and they keep telling me you have already submitted an appeal for this account. But I'll keep arguing against the system, see what happens.
That's what got you banned.
What's that?
That's what got you banned. Too much arguing.
Too much arguing, exactly. Too many angry words against certain Sky personalities.
Oh dear.
And you, Matt, how are you doing out in Seattle?
Oh, very, very good. It's a nice rainy morning, so pretty standard Seattle spring. So as we get started, I want to note that we are recording here live on Discord. So if you are listening live, go ahead and pop a question into the chat, and we'll try to get to it as we go through the podcast. And if you have not joined the Anfield Index Discord, be sure to get on that. It's a really nice conversation for all things Liverpool. So be sure to click over and get signed up on Anfield Index Discord. So today we have 2 opening questions for our discussion, for our podcast. And the first one comes from Tadiwa. So who has been the most positive, surprising player of the season thus far? So Paul, do you want to get us started? Who's your most surprising player?
Yeah, there's obviously, we look at the squad and there's obviously a number of players who could probably fit the bill for this, but I'm going to go with Joel Matip. I just think that at the start of the season we were kind of curious as to how Van Dijk would have recovered from last season's injuries, and I know we've seen him towards the end or pre-season and whatnot and coming through, and we're like, yeah, he's going to be grand. But ultimately, Joel just kind of like stepped it up, and it just feels like this season, the things that have hampered him in the past couple of seasons, injuries, fitness issues, not being able to play maybe 3 games in a week kind of idea, it just seems as if all of that has just been left in the past, and he has been incredibly durable and reliable. But more than that, like his ball playing, his ball carrying, his popping up with goals, assisting and just progressive play this season has just been, I don't know, he just seems to have taken things to a different level. And I know that maybe 2 seasons ago we were kind of talking about Joe Gomez as, effectively Virgil van Dijk's partner, and Matip would be the rotation option if we brought someone else in. But it just seems, and it feels as if this season he's just went, no, hold on a minute, I'm here. I'm still going to be, I'm still a massive part of what's happening in this. And I feel that actually probably this season, it might be controversial, but he feels as if he's been our best centre-back. And that's kind of odd to say that when you've got Virgil van Dijk in your team. But I really feel that in certain games, he's just been there and he has just been a different level. So I think probably that would be the most positive, maybe not the most surprising, but definitely think it's kind of one of those. He's one of those players who has just kind of went, wow, right, okay, yeah, this is. He has been available so much and played brilliantly. I don't remember one game where he's been like, that was a bad game from Joel. Where sometimes maybe in the past he might have said that. So yeah, I think honourable mention would go to Luis Diaz coming in. That's the most surprising player because one is his transfer we didn't expect to happen when it happened, and two, he has been just like every game, just on the money. Whenever he's been called upon, he's been right there. Does he know the system inside out? No. But at the same time, when he comes in, he just plays incredibly well. So that would be my surprise player, and then my honourable mention.
Yeah, Joel is one who's just a very fun player, and after 2 seasons where he just could not shake the injuries. So in 1920, he only completed 11 90s, and last season only 9 90s. So that's a big difference to this year, where he's got 36 90s, and it's the most he's ever played for Liverpool in any season since he joined 6 years ago. So it's a big improvement, and I'm really happy that happened. He was also one that I was concerned about coming into the season. So for me, the most surprising player has been Kostas Tsimikas. So last season, he had a rough entry into the team with his transfer during the pandemic and sort of like coming to a new country, getting COVID, and just didn't seem to get an opportunity because of all of the turmoil going on with injuries, and so just didn't get a chance to show what he could do. And when we've had situations like this in the past where the player hasn't been getting opportunities or getting chances from Klopp, you start to worry that they're not going to be able to get into the team. And this year, he's finally gotten his chance, getting a little bit more stability at center back, and boy, can he just deliver a ball. And like that was something that I was not expecting, and I think that with his last 6 assists, that brought him to 6 for the season in all competitions, which is the most he's had for on loan, and was one that was not going to be reintegrated in the team. But he has led the charge in the domestic cup runs, and I think he's up to 9 goals in all competitions this season so far. So to me, I think that he's another one that was quite surprising.
Yeah.
So then, Lubo, what about you? What is your most surprising player, or who is your most surprising player?
So I would actually just my honorable mention would be Joel as well, for many of the reasons that you guys discussed. I'd like to point out that actually Joel was extremely durable in Germany, and he had seasons of over 4,000 minutes, and it really was a good thing that was something that Simon Brandish mentioned, that they finally did surgery on him. I think it was last year. And that was able to fix some of the underlying issues that were plaguing him, and it's been just amazing to see him fully healthy and fully available. So he would be my honorable mention. But my surprise player of the year would be Ibu Konate, and it's a player that I had watched in Germany with Leipzig. I liked him, but it just feels it has been great to just see him just step in at Liverpool, and he's matured. He's grown, he's matured. You could see he's bigger now, he's stronger. It feels like he's faster, which I don't know if that's even possible because he was plenty fast at Leipzig. But it's just the way he's been able to step in next to Virgil or next to Joel. I believe he even had a game with Joe at one point of time, playing mostly on the right, but also playing on the left. And how he's just been able to integrate into the highline system that we play. hardly missed a beat. I mean, there were a couple of shaky games. I think that the one against Brighton, where a lot of players had shaky games, comes to mind. But this year, since January, he has been tremendous, and now he's scoring goals. And I absolutely did not expect this. I mean, I definitely felt that he would be the one for the future, as someone we could really rely on more in a year or two, possibly. But the way he's stepped up this season has been just phenomenal. So he's my pick for the surprise player of the year.
Yeah, his integration into the team has been quite spectacular. I think that we're still at the point where Liverpool have not lost when he's played. But I guess, Liverpool's only lost, 2-3 games all season, so that I guess that's the case for most people. But still, no losses for Ibu Konate in a Liverpool shirt yet.
Long may it continue.
Yes, let's keep that up. So that's a good time to move to our second opening question, and this one comes from Phil Bartz. So Phil asks, does it feel better to be a Red right now or at this point in the 1920 season? So to sort of set the stage and provide some context for that is Liverpool clinched the title with 7 games to go in 2019-20. So we just completed match day 32 yesterday against Manchester United. So we're roughly the same point in the season in terms of games played, even though 1920 was different because of the disruptions from the pandemic. So to just compare the seasons a little bit, in 1920, Liverpool exited the League Cup in the quarterfinals, the Champions and the FA Cup in the 5th round. So the caveat to the League Cup run in 1920 is that that quarterfinal game was played within 24 hours of the Club World Cup. So Liverpool played a team of all under 18s, and that's why they lost it. And Liverpool had taken the first team to Qatar and won the Club World Cup. So as it stands right now, comparing the two seasons in 1920, you had the Premier League title wrapped up and the Club World Cup in hand, but we're out of the other competitions. As we stand today in league in the round of 16-22, Liverpool are in second by 1 point in the Premier League, in the semi-finals of the Champions League, have won the League Cup, and are in the final of the FA Cup. So, continuing with you, Lubo, does it feel better to be a Red right now, or at this point in the 1920 season?
It feels different, and I know it's a bit of a cop-out answer, but I think if it asked me at when was it, before the game against Atletico in March, right? So if it asked me this question a month ago or 6 weeks ago, I would definitely say that season was magical, just because we had won the Super Cup, we had won the Club World Cup. We're just humming on this ridiculous. I think we ended up going on a streak in the league where we had won 36 games and drawn 2 of the last 38 games, which is basically a better run than any team had ever done and probably will ever do.
That's a 110-point season.
That's exactly it. And so that team was just so ridiculous. We had won the league with almost 10 games to spare. Everything just looked so beautiful. But then the loss to being knocked out of the Champions League to Atletico in such a weird fashion, and then the pandemic. And I was just looking back a year ago. This time nobody knew what the pandemic meant. Nobody knew if we would have football again. Again, there was talks about null and void. Would you ever play the season? Would the whole season be scrapped? Would we even get the title? Right. So it was really just a really difficult time, really dark time. 2 years ago.
Yes.
And I think
spring 2020 was a time of uncertainty in a lot of
it was. And so it was something that we had already sort of achieved. You could sense it, but you just weren't sure if it would really happen because of the pandemic and the null and void and everything else. And now we're almost the other way, where we're almost there. The team is just playing so well. Everything is at the fingertips, but we don't quite have it, aside from the from the League Cup, right? So we keep talking about the Q word, right? And could it happen? And we keep saying it's possible, but it's also, it would be gutting, but you could see a universe where you only have a League Cup right at the end. And so from that perspective, I don't know. I think because it's April, and that's what makes Phil's question so difficult. If you ask me March 1st of 2020 versus March 1st this year, I would definitely take 2020. But I don't know. I love this season. And even though we still have 3 trophies to win, and we may or may not win them, we like to think we will. But there's just something magical about this season, and just the way it looks, the way it feels. And if I had to pick, I would pick this season.
That's fair. So, Paul, what are your thoughts on this?
That's interesting, Lubo, that you've picked this season. I would probably say, and it's a really good question for Phil, because you do have to weigh up the fact that we're still playing for so much this season, whereas that season, well, by this stage, we had won the league and there was nothing left to play for. And it's one of them ones where you're going, oh my goodness, like, is it better to still be in effectively the chance with winning 4 titles, or is it better to have one in the hand but out of the rest of them? Now I know we've won the League Cup, but let's be honest, it's nowhere near the same level as the league. And I don't know. I just think at this point in time, right, 2 years ago, in terms of knowing that we'd won the league, set aside the pandemic stuff and everything that was happening with COVID. But if we look at we have won the Premier League for the first time in the Premier League's history. We've won a title for the first time in 30 years. I really don't know if you can top that emotion, because that was, we'd won the Champions League the year before, and then we'd won the Premier League, and it was like, that was elation. That you offset that with then COVID hit, the pandemic was there, couldn't celebrate, couldn't lift the trophy in front of a full stadium, couldn't do the open top, the bus parade or anything, and we know what the Champions League one was like. So the Premier League was going to be 3 times, 4 times as big as what that would have been. And so you kind of go, oh, well, I see how that put a wee bit of a dampener on it. But I would still say it felt better then than where we're sitting now, simply because we had that title that we had effectively wanted for so many years and had eluded us. But that being said, if you ask me this question in 4 weeks' time, when we've won the league and we're sitting ready to go into the Champions League final and an FA Cup final, the answer could be very, very, very different. But just as it sits, I kind of look at it and go, I think I was more excited then because we had won the league, and at the minute now I'm excited, but it's an apprehensive excitement because I know that we could still end the season with just a League Cup and nothing else. I'm not saying that we will. Like, I'm a believer that we're going to go all the way and do as much as possible. But at this point in time, the league is out of our hands. But back then, we had just won it, and it was the trophy we'd waited for so long.
Yeah, this is a super difficult question to answer, and both of your perspectives are very interesting. I think that when I'm reflecting on like what's happened this season, what happened in that season, is like sort of picking between sort of 2 alternatives. So in like 2019-20, in the league, just everything was smooth sailing, right? Mm-hmm. But then the cup competitions were like pretty rocky. In this season, it's like the cup competitions have like smooth sailing. Like Liverpool have been great. And then in the league, while being really good, it's not quite as good as it was, like Lubo was saying, with the like 36 wins out of 38 games and just like utter domination in the league. It's just the more dominance has been in those cup competitions and those knockouts, and it's hard to weigh up because they're just a little bit different. And like you're saying, like the winning it for the first time in 30 years is just this huge sense of relief that everybody felt. But if I had to pick, I think that it might be better right now, even though we don't know the result, just because the journey of the season has been so good. And like keeping things alive to the end, like a semifinal, 2 finals, and being within a point of top on April 20th, that is just going to be hard to match in any season. So I think that right now is probably just like a tiny bit better than it was, say, at this point in 1920.
Plus, in about 2 hours, we will have seen Adam Lallana score a late game winner at the Etihad. So that's going to be the clincher. Just Paul doesn't know it yet, but that's what's deciding it for me.
It's going to be Adam Lallana?
Sure, why not?
He did tweet about it, didn't he?
He did.
You'll not have seen that, Libo.
Yeah, Adam did. He did. Yeah, Adam. I did see him talking about it. At least he was just so poetic, right? But that's what I'm calling. That's what I'm calling it. And then we'll see. I'll check the score in about 2 hours and just see if it happens.
We'll re-record the podcast.
With the celebrations, right? So that's a good point in time to get into our sort of second topic, which is looking at the results since we last did a podcast. So since we last spoke to you, Liverpool has qualified for the FA Cup final with wins over Nottingham Forest and Manchester City. Liverpool have, in the Premier League, beaten Watford and Manchester United, and then gotten a draw with Manchester City. In the Champions League, Liverpool have secured qualification over Benfica, winning both legs. So before we take a look at the midfield, do you have any? Do either of you have thoughts you want to bring up, or things you want to highlight from that run since the last international break?
I'll go.
Rubo, do you want to get us started? Yeah.
I think the last maybe a little bit prematurely at the time. That last podcast, I called it "Return to the semis" on Play Awards of the Star Wars, right? But actually, we hadn't at that time. We hadn't clinched the return to the semifinals, I believe, because we still hadn't played Forest, and that ended up being a pretty difficult game. And then we hadn't advanced past Benfica. And actually, we ended up winning one and drawing one, Matt. We drew at home, even though
that's right, draw one. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't really matter. But honestly, the results...
In my head, it was a win.
It was really.
Could have been a win.
I honestly, the results have been probably about as good as you wanted to. I think the only thing that would have made it any better is if we had somehow stolen the game at the Etihad and moved ahead of them. But honestly, going into that game, I felt a draw was still a good result for us because it still kept us within a point. It gave us the opportunity to apply pressure on them and, potentially even move ahead, which is what happened last night with the win. So now the pressure is on them. But in terms of the cup competitions and in terms of just the results there, it's been great. And honestly, I think that others may disagree, but I almost feel that if we had to, if we had lost at the Etihad in the league, and then somehow just stumbled across and got knocked out at the FA Cup semifinal to City, it would be such a gut punch, gut punch for us on this season. And I think that the way the results panned out, especially being able to beat them in the semifinal, and it honestly felt like an FA Cup final. I know we didn't get a trophy for it. We still have to play Chelsea, and we may talk about it. But it just felt like such a huge result. So I honestly don't have any complaints about the results. at all. The draw at City, or even the draw at home against Benfica, it was just a fun game. It didn't really matter. We advanced, and I could not complain about the results.
Yeah, I think the Benfica home game definitely felt like a game where the result was already predetermined, and so they're just sort of like, we're playing it out. Especially once Liverpool started scoring, it just sort of had this inevitability feeling for Liverpool and qualification. And then in the City games, the teams are just so close in terms of their talent that for me it just sort of brought home that every single player has to be extremely dialed in and just be on the top of their game in order to get the results that are needed. And I don't know that all of our guys had their best game in the Premier League game, but it was enough to get the draw, which is the result, like the minimum result that was needed to keep the season alive. So I thought that was really good. Paul, anything that you want to highlight for the most recent run?
I think you guys are covering it there pretty well. Ultimately, we've showed that we've went toe to toe with the team that we would arguably say is the best team in the world in City, and we've been able to match them. And I just think that possibly that City game at the Etihad, we started slow and we maybe showed them a wee bit too much respect. But then after that, once we got going, I definitely think it's a mark of where we've come. That Pep had to change his approach in the way that he set up for that game and how he wanted to play that game. Nearly playing with the double pivot and just pushing De Bruyne into that wee bit further forward, number 10 role kind of idea. And just maybe trying to change their approach of how they played balls in behind us, which I don't necessarily think is the way that City generally play. So I know that for them, they were definitely scared of us coming, and that's we've all seen the Amazon stuff where Pep talks about the front three and not being able to handle them. So I think we went into that game feeling confident, but probably we paid them a little bit too much respect. And then the FA Cup, man, oh wow. That first half, it was nearly as if we learnt the lesson. Now I know they changed personnel, and that's classic Pep overthinking, or just trying to honor. You can see what he did with the goalkeeper, honor and Steffens. The fact that he had played in the FA Cup and was in that run, but you just kind of go. We just absolutely smashed them that first half, and it was scintillating football. And then again last night, it was just the same. It was just like. Teams are, United are switching to play 5 at the back in defence, 3-4-3 in attack, whatever way, in possession, whatever way you want to look at it. They're changing to try and defend us, and they just don't have answers for it. And it's just been great to see kind of how, we've come through all of those games. I think what has been really impressive this season is coming through from periods of time when we've said that's going to be hard, that's going to be hard, that's going to be hard. You think of AFCON, you think of coming into the run off the back of AFCON and teams that were playing. Then after this international break, you're going, you've got City, you've got Man United. Those are hard games. At the weekend, we've got Everton. You're kind of going, those are going to be hard games. Well, we have the squad. You throw in Champions League, we're definitely dropping points. And the end of it, we don't. We get through. We're in the FA Cup final. We're in the Champions League semi-final. We're 1 point behind City. We've pushed them all the way. So, these results since the international, I think, aside from, obviously getting a win against City at the Etihad, which would be a massive ask, let's, be under no illusions. We've done probably as well as we could have imagined that we were going to. So I think it's been a good run.
Yeah, Liverpool have superbly navigated the very difficult schedule, and in looking at the club ELO ratings and the SPI ratings on 538, Liverpool with their wins have just edged ahead of City as the number 1 rated team by the advanced statistics models. So I think that the last time that happened was actually in February of 2020. So Liverpool is back on top, essentially. I think this is a good point to talk about what we've seen in the last couple of weeks in terms of the midfield. So Klopp's finally unleashed the Fabyago trio. Why NWA Foodie wanted to ask us how good does it feel to see a fully fit Nabi Keta? So Paul, what do you think about Nabi Keta?
I've been a massive fan of Nabi, and it's just been one of those ones where kind of like you're just waiting. And I know he did the interview where he said you haven't seen the best of me, and I even think was it Ralph Rangnick has talked previously about how good he is, and I was just reading the quotes that Jurgen made about Thiago and Nabi Keita being the top two midfielders in the Bundesliga, and we've managed to bring both of them in. To our lineup, and it has taken a while for Nabi to reach the point where he's reached. For one reason or another, we know about internationals coming back injured, getting injuries, maybe not having the best performances, being taken out of the team. But right now, it just feels incredible to know that he is absolutely firing. But that midfield three with Fabinho, Thiago, and Nabi is just different level, and we'd have lots of debates about the different people that could probably fit into that and could play in that midfield. Last night, Henderson played there. We talk about Curtis Jones. We talk about, there's a number of different guys who we have in the squad. Harvey Elliott started the season and then hasn't been there. But I just think that ultimately this is the Nabi that we signed, and it's taken until now to see it. But it's just, there's been flashes of it. It's not that it's taken until now. There have been flashes of it, but just being able to manage him and get him to this point, it just feels like when everyone's coming to when teams are coming to the end of the season, they're getting injuries. De Bruyne for Man City, not quite there. Kyle Walker having an injury. And we're sitting here with effectively a full squad ready and available to choose from. We're 4 or 5 senior players every game who can't make the bench. And you're just like, we are in prime position to push on. And it's just great to see that Nabi has been picked for those big games. We have, as we talked about, we have unleashed what has necessarily been the midfield that we have talked about as probably the best midfield that we could play. And we are unleashing it at the business end of the season when you're like, we can go on. And from here, we can win things. And I think, this midfield and, Jordan Henderson and Curtis Jones and even Milner have that ability to come in then and see out games and help us over the line with these games. And great rotation, being able to bring Thiago off and drop Nabi in and bring Henderson on. There's just so much there in terms of what we can do. So, it's superb to be able to see this.
Yeah, it's fantastic the way that the staff has managed the playing time of both Nabi Keta and Thiago. Early in the season, they were sort of just like trading off, like one would start and then the next game the other one would start, and it just sort of kept them both healthy and going. And now that we've got to where you need to have that next level, Klopp started to play them at the same time. Now that we finally see it all together, it's just like, this is just as good or better than I thought it could be. And, like Nabi Keita has always been one of my favorite Liverpool players, and just because he's so exciting to watch. And now that he's finally getting his due, it's quite good. It's like you were saying, it's with the injuries and not being able to get fully integrated, that horrific tackle by Ivan Rakitic at the Camp Nou, that just really put Nabi on a bad path for 2 seasons. And now it seems like things are a little bit more where his injuries are manageable, and he can play and be a little bit more durable and just contribute to the team. So it's awesome. So Lubo, what are your thoughts on Nabi Keita and the midfield?
I mean, you guys have said a lot of the things that I wanted to touch on. I just wanted to mention something that Ted Knudsen from Statsbomb, I remember he was a huge Nabi Keita fan back when he was still with Salzburg and then with Leipzig. and he was writing these articles, and he was just saying that Arsenal should buy him. But he had said something that I always remember. He said, if you want the best defensive midfielder available, you buy Nabi Keta, and if you want the best attacking midfielder available, you buy Nabi Keta. And I think we're seeing this at Liverpool, and he has taken time. I mean, when he came in originally, early on in his first season, especially, he was very much an attacking player. You could see that very early on, coming in and helping with the attack and the through balls and the shots and the goals and the penalty area involvements. And I think that Klopp, what took a bit of time is for Klopp to build that defensive side of his game, where he could slot him into that Gini role and in that more of a left-sided 8 and trust him there.
Yeah.
And then I think Thiago being, doing a great job there, had meant for a while that Nabi was more used as a backup or a rotation option for Thiago, which is great because those two players, they can do that role. But I think that this season, and he had good games this season. He had really good games this season. I mean, that 5-0 win at Man United, he was phenomenal before he got injured by Paul Pogba. But I honestly think that looking back, the League Cup final against Chelsea was such a huge turning point. I don't know in Klopp's mind or in Nabi's mind. And if you remember, he wasn't supposed to start. He was supposed to be Thiago, and then Thiago just got some niggle in the warm-ups. And the fact that Nabi came in cold and for 80 minutes or 85 minutes, however much he played, he absolutely shut down N'Golo Kante, who is a phenomenal midfielder, and really allowed us to dominate against that Chelsea midfield. To me, that almost felt like that's, whether it's Klopp, whether it's him, the coaches, it almost felt like, okay, Nabi now is ready for prime time this season. And you could see then, since then, he has been a lot more involved. He's moved ahead of definitely Milner. But now he's started with Benfica, and now against City in the FA Cup final, he's basically starting as one of the top 3 midfielders ahead of Henderson. And I think that is probably the most difficult thing you could do at Liverpool right now, is to be one of the top 3 midfielders, because there are some really good midfielders that Klopp could choose from, and he has really stepped up. And there was an interview he did recently where he said that we haven't seen the best of him, and I think he's you could see his confidence, and now he's delivering, and long may continue the rest of this season. Hopefully he stays. Hopefully he gets a new contract and he can stay a few more years. I mean, in many ways, he's just entering his prime. So I would love to see him for the next 5-6 years stay at Liverpool and continue to play the way he has, because he can just be world class.
Right. So Nabi has just turned 27. So he's got 3-4 more years of prime seasons that he could have at Liverpool, and that would be fantastic. So Liverpool have 10 games left in the season. Nabi's played just under 1,600 minutes, so he could get to 2,000 minutes in a season for Liverpool for the first time. That's really good. So one other thing we wanted to touch on here in this section is what do you think has prompted the change in the approach from Jurgen Klopp towards the domestic cups? So, Lubo, do you want to get us started on that one?
Well, I think Klopp, when he didn't have the squad that he has now, I mean, it makes sense that he would always prioritize qualifying for the Champions League, doing well in the Champions League, and trying to do well in the league, right? Those are the 2 big competitions. And over the years, I do think he's tried to take the domestic cup seriously. I mean, he did get to a final in the League Cup in his first season in 2016 and lost on penalties. And he has had some difficult draws, but especially in the FA Cup. But there was also that situation where he had to field the really young kids because they were in the Club World Cup. So I think it's just been this year. It's been just the fact that he's had the squad. He's finally had the squad. He's had the available players. And in some ways a little bit lucky, we've gotten some of the good draws. So if you look in the FA Cup and in the League Cup, granted we did get Leicester and Arsenal in the League Cup, and then obviously Chelsea in the final. The FA Cup has been easier. We did get Man City in the semi-final, but before that, those were easier draws. So I think it's been a combination of things, having a full squad, having a lot of players, quality players who can play in the Cups, getting a little bit of an easier draw. But it's just many things coming together. And I don't think Klopp has always disrespected the domestic Cups. He's just always had to make choices that have meant that he's had to possibly deprioritize one or two of those competitions, or one or two games in those competitions. And when you're in the knockout competition, that's basically you're out. But I'm just relieved as someone who didn't really historically care about the domestic cups, or especially the League Cup. I have to say I've really enjoyed those games against Arsenal. Were just tremendous. The final against Chelsea was just such a nail biter. It was such a great game. So I'm really glad that the combination of available players and Klopp's decisions and the draw has meant that we've won one cup, and now we're in the final with a chance to win another. That is fun. That is what, and especially for people who are in England or the UK and can go to Wembley for the finals. That is just so great. It's just I absolutely love it for the fans.
Yeah, I think that, like you're saying, it's like some confluence of factors that have all sort of come together to make it easier to navigate the run with the more favorable draws. But I really think that we've seen over the last 3 to 4 years that Liverpool has actually really developed its depth and its academy. So both the backups are better when they're coming in to play in these games, and then the kids who are working with the backups are also better. So it's just you have a little bit more talent, a little bit easier run, and then it just makes it just a little bit easier to progress. So Paul, do you have thoughts on this?
I think these have covered it. I think in some respects it's just been an accidental thing this season. We've fallen into the fact that things have went for us. We've had the players. We haven't had injuries. We've had the run of the draws, and we've basically found ourselves in the final of a League Cup, final of an FA Cup, and we've kind of been able to save those players for the league and navigate the cups with, as you said, Matt, the younger players and the backup players who are just at a better level than they've probably been the last couple of seasons. So it's maybe a happy accident, but it's great that we've been able to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good time to start looking ahead to what's to come for Liverpool. So this weekend is the Merseyside Derby. So there are 6 games left in the Premier League. Liverpool really need to win them all. There is a second final coming up against Chelsea in the FA Cup. I believe that is in a couple weeks' time in early May. And then we have a Champions League semi-final that starts next week in the first leg against Villarreal. So one thing we need to talk about in this section is actually not Liverpool. It's Manchester City. So looking at the schedule for Manchester City, we've already sort of talked about this with them playing Brighton today. Where do you think they're most likely to slip up? Paul, do you want to start us off on that one?
Oh, it's such a hard one, because you really look at the games and you think, well, they should win out all of them. And if you're being pessimistic about it, you kind of go, well, there's nowhere they're really going to slip up. But that's not the positivity podcast. So I would kind of I'd be going against the ethos of this podcast, but going, no, I don't think they're going to lose anywhere. I do think that there's a possibility of Brighton tonight. There is also, I think they still have West Ham to play, which could be a tough one.
Let me jump in. I can give you the schedule. So they're playing Brighton tonight at home. Then they have Watford at home, Leeds away, Newcastle at home, West Ham away, and then on the final day they host Aston Villa. They also have an away game against Wolves that has not been scheduled, that was postponed from last weekend. So the Leeds away game is between their semi-finals against Real Madrid.
I definitely think Leeds away. You look at their away games. So you said Leeds away, Wolves away, and was Newcastle away?
And West Ham is away.
West Ham is away. So those three away games, they're to be as positive as possible. They're not easy games away. Now, your fear is that West Ham are on the beach because they're either in the Europa League final or they've had nothing left to play for in the league because they can't get Champions League and they've got whatever they've got. So that's your worry with them. Wolves are just a really odd one this season. Wolves are grinding out results and getting results at places you don't expect, and then they're still kind of in the reckoning for some kind of European place, are they? So there was talk of them going for top four.
Wolves are on 49 points with 32 matches played. Tottenham is currently fourth, and they're at 57 with 32 played. So they're, outside looking in, and even Arsenal is at live standings are 55 on 32. So even getting into the Europa League looks a little bit tough for Wolves.
Yeah, but this, I still think, and Leeds under Jesse March, it's a different proposition than under Bielsa. So yeah, this season has shown that there's so much unpredictability about where teams are dropping points and who's taking points off who. I think it would be remiss to say that they couldn't win every game, because I think they can, in the same way that I think we can win out every game. But I also feel that there is opportunities there for teams to take points off City. I'm not going to try and predict which game, because at this point in time, I just think it's too difficult. But Lubo, smarter man than me, may have a prediction on that.
Yeah, Lubo, go ahead.
Well, I'm with you. I think that could they win all 7 games, 6 or 7 games? I think they have 6 left now. Or could they win all of them? Yes, they can. But are there enough potential banana peels in there? Absolutely. And exactly, that Leeds game in between Real Madrid, and those could be 2 very bruising games against Real Madrid, as we have seen. And then they have to go, and Leeds, they're just going to run forever. I mean, that's the one thing. And what Jesse Marsh has done is has stabilized them a bit defensively. They're still playing very aggressively, but they're a little bit better defensively. At Wolves, at West Ham, always awkward. And West Ham, it will depend, because it's possible West Ham have qualified for the Europa League final and are resting players, putting all of their eggs in that basket, or it's possible they've been knocked out at the semifinals and now they're realizing that they need to get all the points because they want to be in the Europa League again. And especially given the journey they've had in the Europa League again, you could see why they would try to be there again next year. And I think there's been a great competition for everyone, for their fans. So it will be awkward. Again, I think you would have to say it's easy to say Man City will win all of their games, but the reality is, the last 7 games before today, they had actually dropped 7 points in those 7 games, right? So and some of those points were home to Spurs and just at Palace and so. It's hard to know. Let me put it this way. I feel on current form and just the way the teams are playing and the way players are performing, if I had to pick which team between Liverpool and Man City, would I rather put money to win all of their remaining games? I would say Liverpool. Now, that doesn't mean Man City cannot win theirs. If they do it, fair play. But I just sense there's the one game there that we don't expect. They're going to slip up. And, for all I know, it's going to be today. Adam Lallana coming off the bench. I already called it.
Well, we'll see about that. In looking at their schedule, or their results for the season, City has been a little bit weird. It's like they've either won both of their games against the team or either drawn or lost against any given opponent. So, with Liverpool, Southampton, Palace, and Spurs, they've failed to win either of the games. But then everybody else, they've beaten them both times. So then none of the games left are against those opponents where they've dropped points. So that makes it a little bit weird. Like, are they just going to do what they did to everyone else in their final 6 games? So it's possible that Wolves could be the team that get the result because they have in the past couple seasons taken points off City. So it might be them. And like Lubo was saying, I'm also in the camp where if I'm like gonna put down a bet, I'm betting on Liverpool to win all 6 rather than City. But unclear to me exactly who City will drop points against. So shifting gears a little bit to the Champions League. What are your thoughts on the upcoming games against Villarreal? Lubo, do you want to get us started on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely coming in after the draw for the quarterfinals and the semifinals was done, and you saw, okay, you're getting Benfica, by far the worst team, and then you're getting possibly Bayern, and I would rather play Bayern than one of the English teams, and we were joking, well, Villarreal, they could upset Bayern, and that would be funny, ha ha ha. Not that we really believed it, but it happened, and I actually watched both of the Bayern games against Villarreal, and Villarreal are just very awkward. They're just very awkward. They do basically a 4-4-2, 4-4-1-1 style, just very well organized. A little bit like Atletico Madrid in the way they play. They're very physical. They close the gaps really well. They do that low block about as well as anyone. So they're not going to be an easy opponent for sure. And I think definitely Liverpool would not underestimate them. I think Klopp and the team, having done the analysis, I think they'll know they're a very, very difficult opponent. They're an opponent that, as long as we do the right thing, we should be able to advance. It could be a couple of nervy games. Actually, in this case, I think being at home first could be an advantage, because I could see us. I expect us to go to Villarreal with a lead, maybe 1 or 2 goal lead, hopefully, and that would force them there to open up and allow us to play more of a counter-attacking style, which I think would serve us very well. So I don't think they're easy. I don't think they're an easy team. But of the remaining 3 teams, I would rather be facing Villarreal in the semifinals than Real Madrid or Man City. So from that perspective, it's probably as good as it gets. It's not going to be nearly as easy as I think a lot of fans are expecting. But I just trust that Liverpool will have enough to advance. And it could be, on the aggregate result, it could be something funny like a 3-2 or 2-1 aggregate score over the 2 legs. But I do trust Liverpool to advance.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a chance to watch the first leg, but not the second leg of the Villarreal Bayern. And in the first leg, it was definitely apparent that Villarreal set their defense up to suppress shots and basically kept Bayern from getting anything, any clear chances like in the box. So all the shots were from distance. So lots of low probability opportunities. So it'll be on Liverpool to try to do something to disrupt that, to get some better shots in the box and better chances. And so maybe starting Luis Diaz and hoping that he can do some things on the dribble, and then setting up either Sadio Mane or Mohamed Salah to get some goals. That would be fantastic. Paul, what are your thoughts on Villarreal?
Yeah, I think, personally, I think that it's a tough tie. It's the easiest out of the 3 draws that we could have got, 3 teams that we could have got without a shadow of a doubt. I think the big thing that will play in our mind is the Newcastle game in between. And so playing at home, you want to get that lead to go into the second leg, because 12:30 on a Saturday at Newcastle isn't going to be easy. And you nearly want to leave yourself, well, then for the Tuesday night game, the thing's nearly done and dusted, same as Benfica. and we can play. We can rotate a few players. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see that Nabi, Thiago, Fabinho midfield in this game, and we try and go for it. And I think, as you said, Matt, possibly someone like Diaz, who's a bit chaotic, unpredictable what he's going to do, dribbling with the ball, against that style of low block, we're going to have to try and create opportunities from nearly nothing. And because it's going to be hard to press them into making those mistakes because they will be set up to defend that. So we need a touch of unpredictability and someone, maybe, Nabi's not afraid to take a shot from distance. Thiago can do that as well. So maybe it needs to be a bit more of that against them in the first game. It's not going to be easy, but, I think people think when they hear us talk on the Positivity podcast, all that they're thinking is that we're just going to talk about every game being, this is an easy win, we're going to win at 4-0, da-da-da-da. That's not what Positivity podcast means. It means, we address it and look at it and go, hey, these games are difficult, but we believe we're getting through them. We're positive about the outcome, and I believe that ultimately we are getting to the Champions League final. We just need to approach this game with that mindset and try and nearly win the tie in the first game, so that we keep ourselves rolling in the league.
And I think actually what could be huge, and hopefully it happens, is us scoring a set piece goal in the first game to open the game. And I that for that reason, especially the way Ibu has been scoring in the Champions League, if I were betting man, I'd just probably put like a tenner on Ibu to score from a corner at home against Villarreal. But that would make a big difference. Just getting that first goal early and getting them to open up a little bit. I think that could be a big advantage. But absolutely, it's not going to be easy. But we have the tools between the attackers and the set plays, and who knows? And we find the other thing about Champions League refs is they actually give us penalties. So maybe we will get one of those as well. And I'll take anything, any luck, any VAR decision, any penalty decision, just to boil the piss, whatever. I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think like you were saying, Paul, is like got to go for it in the first leg, got to win it, got to sort of do what you can to put it away as soon as possible to make that second leg easier. So before we go, let's take a real quick look at the FA Cup final. What are you guys looking forward to in that FA Cup final against Chelsea? Paul, can you get us started on this one?
Honestly, as I've said all along, you guys know what I've said this. I don't think Chelsea are all that and a bag of chips. So I really think that this final is going to be. I think the way we played against City, if we approach Chelsea in that same way in the final, they're not going to be able to handle us. Like as I've just checked the score, they are 2-2 already against Arsenal. Arsenal have taken the lead twice in that game. So if Arsenal are scoring 2 against Chelsea in a Premier League match, I really don't doubt that we can go into the FA Cup final. And with our full strength team, I know we played them in the Carling, hasn't been the Carling Cup for ages, in the Carabao Cup, and it was a close game. I just think kind of close game. It wasn't as close as what maybe the scoreline says, but I just think that in the FA Cup we should be able to blast them away.
Yeah, I think that. I'm hoping that Thiago gets his chance. Like he didn't get the opportunity to play the League Cup final, and you could tell from the pictures of him on the sideline that it was something that he really wanted. So I'm hoping that he is able to give it a go, and with him on the field, because I don't think that he's been on the field in any of the games that we've played against them so far this season. I think that he will be the difference maker. Lubo. Your thoughts on the FA Cup final?
We are the better team, and as you said, if
that is absolutely true.
If we have all of the players available and Klopp could start the team that he thinks would be best, we should win. And ideally, we could see Fabinho, Thiago, and Keta start at that final. Hopefully we're in the Champions League final, and they're the ones who start that Champions League final. That is by far your most versatile most high upside, most talented midfield. If knock on wood, we avoid injuries, we have the players available, they're properly rotated, they're properly rested. I think we go into that final against Chelsea as the favorites, and I don't think it's going to be a draw. I feel confident that we would come out hot off the gate, and I could see us doing a very similar blitzkrieg against them like we did against Man City, and just being up 3-0 at halftime, and then just cruising and just the fans being completely drunk and singing their asses off for the second half and long after the game.
Yeah, that's the world I want to be living in, and it's probably a good place for us to come to a close for today's show. So I think our plan for recording in the future is to come to you again in May, so in 3 or 4 weeks, our personal schedules permitting. So, Paul, you want to give us your final thoughts? Any plugs?
Yeah, I think this, we've decided to start this podcast at a great time. I think everything is looking so positive and rosy, and it's been going good. And all we need to do is just keep being upbeat and keep being 100% behind what the team's doing. I don't see us faltering now, and all that we can ask for is that someone does us a solid and takes a point or two off City, and at that point, then we'll have it done.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lubo, your final thoughts?
Well, my final thoughts, I just want to thank everyone who listens to this podcast. And if this is your first podcast, first episode you've listened, thank you. If this is I think this is going to be your fourth, thank you for that as well. And I just want to go back to something that Matt said earlier. Just come join Anfield Index Discord. That is the only place actually right now where you could interact with me if that is your thing. While I'm sorting out, while I'm having my conversations with Elon Musk about the future of Twitter, but come and join, and then maybe you like it, maybe you subscribe and become a AI Pro subscriber, and then you could listen to this podcast live. But just be positive, and we've got this could be about 6 weeks of greatness, and it is going to be an amazing ride.
All right, everyone, keep up the good fight. Thank you for listening. Until we talk to you again, up the positivity, Reds.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index, and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.